welcome to the special show ahead of the Bharat Tex 2024, a global textile expo that is scheduled to be held in New Delhi from 26 to 29 February. Bharat Tex 2024 is a prominent industry platform wherein multiple stakeholders from the global textile sector would converge to discuss and deliberate on themes pertaining to textiles, fashion and sustainability. And to talk more about how India's textile industry is planning to leverage this platform to promote India's textile prowess, foster international collaborations and stimulate growth, we are joined by a set of eminent policymakers and experts. Today's conversation is on the theme from 150 billion to 350 billion US dollars, how Indian textile sector will drive employment, trade and growth. We have with us on the panel today Rohit Kansal, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Textiles, Naren Goenka, Chairman, Bharat Tex 2024, Sudhir Sekhri, Chairman, Apparel Export Promotion Council, Mithileshwar Thakur, Secretary General, Apparel Export Promotion Council, and Navdeep Sodhi, Partner, Gezi Textile Organization. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. So, 100 billion, Mr. Kansal, is the goal that has been set by the Government of India for the textile sector. Take us through the numbers, sir. How is this big goal going to be achieved?
India traditionally has been a global textile power, and you only need to look at the number of words in the English language pertaining to textiles to realize how big a country India was. So, the vision for the textile sector now is to look at a $350 billion ecosystem comprising $250 billion in the domestic sector and $100 billion in the textile sector overall. And in fact, I have my colleagues from the apparel sector here with me, and they are very fond of saying 40 by 30. So, $40 billion by 2030. And we are all geared up to achieve this. We have a number of growth drivers. For example, in natural fibers, we are the best. We are the biggest producers of cotton and jute in the world. We are the second largest producers of silk. We have a skilled, trained manpower. We have an excellent policy ecosystem. And I am confident that we are well on way to achieving this goal.
Mr. Goenka, tell me about how, these exports, how is the expansion planned in the sector? What are the kind of key opportunities that we see in the export sector, and how the industry and the industry bodies are looking at expanding this sector?
We are the best raw material producer. We have a stable workforce, we have a stable government, and we have a very good relationship, collaboration between the industry and the government. And the most important part is little shift in the sourcing, international sourcing pattern, is that the many Western countries, US, Europe are shifting their sourcing base, especially in textile and fashion, towards Asia. In Asia, their choice is becoming more and more towards India. So, we have everything in place to achieve this goal of 100 billion and 250 billion in domestic.
Mr. Goenka, you're also, I would want to stop you and ask you another question with this. You're also chairperson for Bharat Tex 2024. Tell us also about how this platform is going to drive growth and, sort of drive awareness when it comes to textiles.
So, Bharat Tex was conceptualized by this vision of increasing the total textile trade to 350 billion. So far, internationally, each sector is showcased separately. Like sometimes it's just the fiber, sometimes it's just the fabric, sometimes it's a fashion, or sometimes it's a home textile. But we realize that we are very good in each sector in complete chain. We have everything in the complete chain, from fiber to fashion and fiber to the factory and foreign, as our PM says that 5F. So, we have everything in that 5F. So, we realize that all that 5F or complete chain has to be brought under one roof first time globally. So, that is why we realize that Bharat Tex, we need to have complete chain, and we have concept 22 lakh square feet area we are using, and that too in Delhi. So, it will start from fiber, all the fiber producer, cotton and man-made fiber producer, then it would be yarn producers, and then fabric, then fashion and home furnishing, and then we are looking at showcasing this show as a sustainable destination, India being a very, very sustainable destination. So, this is how we have conceptualized, and this is the biggest show, textile show on globally.
So Bharat Text is going to be about from fiber to fashion, everything and everything in between. Then, Mr. Sekhri, I'll come back to you because Mr. Goenka said, you know, one of the key things that are there, that is there in the textile industry is a stable workforce. Tell me about the employment in the workforce. How are we looking at expanding this workforce and making it more sustainable?
Textile and apparel is the second largest employer after agriculture. This sector gives almost 45 million direct employment and about 60 million indirect employment. And most of the employment is in the semi-urban and rural areas.
Okay.
And again, a large part of the people who work in this industry are women. So, you know, this is in a sense, if you want to see in perspective, the total women employed in this sector is almost 3 to 3.5 times the average women employed in the country. And today we happen to be, we are contributing almost 2% to the GDP of the country, and almost, I would say, 12% to the export basket of this country.
So 2% to India's GDP, 40 billion by 2030. Clearly, India is really seriously looking at its textile industry. I would want to come to you, Mr. Sodhi. How do you see the global trends and how do you see India aligning when it comes to textiles and apparel for that matter? How do you see India aligning with the global trends? Where do we stand?
I think it is important to bear in mind the bigger perspective, you know. I mean, first of all, let's remember that textiles and clothing is one of the most globalized industries in terms of trade. I mean, the global trade in textiles and clothing is ranked among the top 5 merchandise products that are traded in the world. I mean, currently the world trade in textiles and clothing is approximately $900 billion and continuously growing, you know. So it's a big cake to partake of. And India, being the second largest producer of textiles and clothing in the world, has clearly a big opportunity, you know. Now, how does that opportunity become relevant? There are certain factors which support that, you know. First of all, that there is a growth in our industry thanks to demographics and thanks to increase in income, you know. The second very pertinent factor is that there are shifts in sourcing of textiles and clothing, you know. International buyers are very keen to diversify their sourcing, you know. And there are very few countries who have a fully integrated textile industry like India, and therefore it is a natural theater for us to play in, you know.
I would want to come to you, Mr. Thakur. What are the kind of challenges that the industry faces and how do you see the collaboration between government and the industry? How important is that to overcome these challenges?
Government has done what it should have done. You know, we have now a PLI scheme which will be a game changer because that will bring, you know, a lot of investment in this MMF fabric and garment sector, and then that gap that exists right now will be minimized shortly. Then we go to D, diversification. You know, there is an urgent need for product and market diversification. Market, you see, our exports to USA, European Union and UK, if you combine these three, account for 74% of our exports. So any downturn in those markets, any contraction of demand can badly impact our exports. So there's a need to go to maybe Latin America, to Africa, and of course Russia. You know, with disappearance of most of the European brands from Russia, I think there's a huge opportunity for Indians to really pitch in, and with that rupee trade, you know, getting agreements with, you know, 24 countries that India has entered into with 34 banks, I think that it will be a win-win situation for both the countries. And last but not the least, e-commerce, because e-commerce is the, you know, in today's global trade, you know, 800 billion is done through e-commerce, and India's target in 2030 is 1,000 billion in merchandise exports, and there 200 billion is accounted for by e-commerce alone. So we need to have a bold, brave, and, you know, fast approach towards e-commerce policy, and I think e-commerce is eminently suited to sectors like textile. So I think if we are able to do certain, you know, regulatory changes in e-commerce policy, I think there will be a win-win situation and we will be able to overcome with the effort of the government.
Thank you, Mr. Thakur, for that. And so clearly there are intrinsic strengths, but there are a lot of challenges that we need to overcome so that we can achieve these big targets. But before we move forward and take this discussion forward with other panelists, let's go for a short break. Be back soon. Welcome back. After the break, we are discussing Bharat Text 2024 with our eminent panelists. Mr. Kansal, a lot of challenges that the textile industry faces right now, including the flattening of the export curve. Can you tell us how the government is aiming to solve this problem?
On the policy front, I think there are a number of initiatives which are being taken to make sure that we are actually able to reach this target. For example, to improve infrastructure, we have come out with the PM Mitra scheme. Somebody spoke about technical textiles. So we have a full-fledged national technical textiles mission. Somebody spoke about MMF. So we have a PLI scheme to improve and encourage man-made fibers. On capacity building, we have a scheme called Samarth, which aims at training, retraining, capacity building. On sustainability, traditionally we have been very sustainable, but we are again strongly working towards sustainability, and one of the latest examples is our efforts at Kasturi Cotton, which is a totally traceable exercise. So, whatever aspect of policy you look at, I think we have a supporting policy to handhold the industry, to help the industry.
How much does the collaboration between the government and the industry play a role? And Bharat Text is actually one of the examples where the government, the policymakers and the industry comes together to join efforts and take the industry forward. Mr. Goenka, how do you feel about this collaboration, and how is this platform, Bharat Text as a platform, as a forum, going to help this collaboration and to achieve better goals, bigger goals?
See, first of all, you can see Bharat Text is a baby of this collaboration, unique baby of this collaboration, Bharat Text. It is joint hand by the government and the complete chain of the industry. With Bharat Text, not only we are showcasing our product, but we have 50 knowledge session, more than 50 knowledge session on the innovation, product mix, on the future factories, on the factory 4.0. We will have lots of master classes. We will discuss the global trends in those. We will discuss the government policies. We will discuss the policies imposed by the importing countries and how to make sure that we are not stuck in that. So, we are taking care of this. So, this will give an edge to our industry to go forward. And our whole world will see that we have this kind of different raw material available. Today, they think that we are just a value added product country, a little fashion product country. They do not see what we have in large for bulk, for masses also. So, this Bharat Text will showcase that we are ready to take the challenge of reshoring and to reach 100 billion in export and 250 billion in domestic.
So, clearly the goalpost is set. I'll come to you, Mr. Sekhri, with the same question. From the policy perspective, you are given full support is what we understand. Tell us more about the exports and the aim. How do you think the industry can play a bigger role in achieving this target?
Sure, yeah, definitely. The government has given us full support in wherever we are today, and our mission, like I said, a very ambitious mission, but realistic, is the 40 billion by 2030. Now, in order to achieve that, we have to, move forward and move much faster than what we've been, how we've been moving in the past few years, because we've remained stagnant. Exports have remained stagnant between 15 and 17 billion over the past few years. So, how do we go forward? Obviously, we need to collaborate with the government. Now, in order for us to be competitive in that area segment of the garment manufacturing, we need build capacities, and we need to have joint ventures where the joint venture partners, they take care of the marketing aspect and we take care of the production aspect.
Mr. Thakur, do you think that even though a lot of schemes, including the PLI 1.0, has been given to the industry, it's still in the gestation period, but do you think the government should do more to, sort of push the textile sector?
Huge support from the government in true sense of the term, and Bharat Tex, that way. And I would say that Bharat Tex is not about display of products. It is about showcasing India as a textile strategy. We are trying to give to the world India's story. We are trying to convey to the world that look, India is future ready, and this is a confident India that is willing to take on rest of the world. Now we don't mind having our competing players display their products alongside. So this is the reflection of a new emerging confident and self-reliant India, and I think Bharat Tex will do to textile industry what G20 has done to Indian diplomacy.
Mr. Sodhi, I'll come back to you. What are the kind of markets that India should eye, and what are the kind of trends that India should hop on right now, which will maybe be beneficial for the textile industry?
First of all, we do see that there has to be a focus on exports, because that market is given, and as a result of these shifts in sourcing, it provides us a big opportunity. I mean, I see this whole picture as a big textile ecosystem, and there are three elements of that. The first element is that there has to be a vision and a perspective, and I think, as the additional secretary pointed out, that vision is clearly there. It's an ambitious vision and it is something to aspire for, and we need to gather all actors in the industry around that vision so that we aspire towards that. The second point is that there has to be an enabling environment to realize that vision, and that is an important component. The third key component is we must recognize that only 10% of India's textile industry is in the organized mill sector. We have 90% of the industry which is in SMEs, which is in the decentralized sector. So the key challenge is, how do we consolidate the potential of the decentralized sector and bring them into the mainstream so that they can participate effectively in the global value chain. And there I will come to the major challenge that we need to address, and it's really a macro level issue, that how do we improve the cost competitiveness, because only when we are competitive in terms of cost we can compete in the world market and we can compete in the domestic market. In terms of digitalization, our industry has become very technology oriented. There's a lot of importance given to automation, robotization, and even the commerce is being driven, as the chairman of the council mentioned. So therefore, all these factors need to be consolidated to come up with a holistic solution.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sodhi. I think we are running out of time, but I will come back to every one of you for closing comments. Bharat Tex is happening in Delhi on 26th. If I were to ask you very briefly in one short sentence to tell us why it is important, because Mr. Thakur compared it to G20, what G20 did to diplomacy, this is going to do to textiles. How do you sum it up? Why is it important, Mr. Kansal?
Well, unprecedented in size, unprecedented in scale, unprecedented in scope. It's for the first time that all the elements of the value chain are coming together under one roof. Participation from over 100 countries, sustainability and digitization are the key themes. I think if you pick up whatever points were raised by the other panelists, you will find an answer to them in one or other element of Bharat Tex.
Okay, Mr. Goenka.
As everyone knows, the textile industry was predominant industry during the independence time. So the Bharat Tex, we are trying, through the Bharat Tex, we are trying to regain the lost glory of textile industry in India.
So we are regaining the lost glory of textiles in India. Mr. Sekhri, what do you have to say?
Well, definitely Bharat Tex is going to be a game changer, and I believe that our mission of 40 by 30, as said, this is one of the stepping stones towards that mission, and it is going to get better by the day.
Mr. Thakur, you have already compared it to G20. Do you have anything else to add to
Yeah,
that?
I mean, it's different in size, scale, dimension, intent and objective and scope. I think this is a textile extravaganza and textile festival. Nobody in the world, textile player, would like to miss. So I think I would urge all of viewers to join this and witness the glory of Indian textiles.
Mr. Sodhi.
Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate the Ministry of Textiles, which has really been the pioneer for this great initiative. For the first time, it brings all actors of the value chain under a single roof, The second important point is in terms of the timing. The timing is so apt that this is the time when the world, the international buyers, they are looking for diversification, they are looking to alternatives, So there could not have been a more apt time to really showcase our prowess,
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. We discussed a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities. Thank you so much for joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Thank you. News continues on the other side on CNBC TV 18. Keep watching.